General Evaluator and Sharath in particular. Today you are attempting project 3 from the CC manual, where you had to give us a general and specific purpose, and you chose to give us the purpose of money. Well, let me evaluate your speech with your first name, Sharath. I'll take 3 S's which I thought were the positive points. The first S was the simplicity. You had a very simple way of conversing with us. You did not make it very complicated. You tried to explain a very simple concept, a very complex concept in a simple manner, and that conversation came through. The second thing which I liked about your speech was your structure. You structured your speech brilliantly. You had the inflation, you had the 2 points, your demand side inflation, your supply side inflation, and you went on with that in a very nice way. The third thing which I liked about your speech was your subtle sense of humor. You started your speech with talking about how India is a poor country, but you went on to add so much humor in it. You talked about how the ministers would come knocking on your door to give money. You talked about how the money would get credited to your bank account. You talked about Honda. So there was a subtle sense of humor. But let me talk about where you could improve, Sharath. Now there are 2 specific areas which I think you can improve upon. One area was the engagement with the audience. I thought that the engagement with the audience was lost somewhere in the middle. You talked about demand side inflation, you talked about supply side engagement, inflation, but I thought the audience was a very confused audience at the end of the day, because the topic selection was a little complex. Although I am a management professor, so I could connect with it. But how about the other audience? So you could engage it by having simpler topics and also making the ending more superior. I'll tell you how to do that. The examples which you gave, the second point of improvement, were of Honda and something which did not catch the audience. You should have said, let's think of a room where 40 men want to get married and there are only 5 girls. What would happen to the demand of those 5 girls? They will improve. The same thing with money. You have so much money and less goods. What will happen to the value of money, of the goods? It will go up. So what will happen? You either have to increase the number of women in the room, that's supply side, correct? Correct? And that you can't do immediately, correct? So that would have brought in so much of more fun into your speech, and you could have connected with the audience. You talk about Honda and you talk about it's good. The examples are good, but you have to connect with the audience. So I think the examples and the engagement would have come through much better. Choose your topics a little more with a concern with the audience, but you fulfilled your general and specific purpose. You had a general purpose of engaging the audience about money and talking about the inflation part. So that part is done well. So I would just like to end with by telling you, Mr. Sharath, today you talked about inflation and money. Just engaging the audience and bringing more examples would have made it much better, just like money. Thank you so much.